What's up, YouTube? Jackson Madden with Team on the Grind, and this video we're going to show you how to side deck with my famous Blizzard Dragon Turbo. I know it's been a hot minute, guys, but I still think this deck is very real in the format. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was an Italy event where it just won. It was a different version on my deck, but it took most of the same concepts. He was still playing Spear Dragon. He was actually maining Luster Dragon. I've moved that card to the side deck, and he was still playing the patented Triple Blizzard Dragon, which we all love that card so much. So in this video, we're going to showcase how I would side deck with this deck against some of the most popular decks. If you don't see your favorite deck here, post in the comments, and I might end up responding to it with how I would side deck against it. For this video, I think we're going over almost every deck that is recently topped or done very well at. If I missed a few, I'm very sorry. I'm not saying your deck is bad. I'm just forgotten about it. Please post in the comments, and I might make a second video with every other deck that was in the comments. First off, I want to start off with Hero Frog. General rule of thumb is this card comes out in every matchup. It's very good game one because generally if you can win game one by drawing this card, you should just win that game. But with Hero Frog, we side out these three. For these three, pretty simple. And then also how I want to play that matchup is I'll side in these two, a Soul Release, and then usually Unoppression going first. If I'm going second, I probably won't side it in. So let's say we'll side that in. Usually I'll side out a Burial. What else do we side out? Heavy's not great. Giant Grenade's not great. And if I'm going first, I'm going to keep in the Starlight Road, even if I am siding Oppression, just because I don't want to get heavy turn one. What else do we side out? Usually a Deep Prison, because you could side out a Bottomless instead, and I don't hate that because Deep Prison is better if they shotgun the summoning of Ab-Zero, because you can't Bottomless it. I have lost a game to where he summoned Ab-Zero before I drew set back row, and my next two draws were Bottomless, and that felt very unfortunate. And if they were Deep Prison, I would have been just fine and probably won that game, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll do that. Cards, and that's how the deck would look against Hero Frog. When I'm going second, I will usually side this out, put in the Deep Prison, and that's how the deck would look, because I don't think Starlight Road is great in that matchup going second, purely because I don't fear Heavy Storm as much, because they'll usually have Raigeki Break, and Raigeki Break usually one of my back row. Most of the time. Sometimes they hit monsters if they're trying to fear this card right here, but generally rule of thumb is that's how I feel about the matchup, and you got to keep these in because you got to out the dupe block. And then for the next deck, we're going against Dream Frogs, which was popularized by the winner of the Ultimate Time Wizard at Nationals. So for that matchup, we're going to side in this, and double Oppression. We really want to stop all the special summoning. They're usually playing a good amount more Monarchs. Definitely want the double Oppression just to stop the synchro potential. And then sometimes MST, that'll be the last card. So we'll side out these three, as always. I actually, in that matchup, would side out a Bottomless over a Deep Prison, because they can constantly loop Unifrog, and we just want to get that out of play. Heavy Storm, Giant Trunade, Burial. Then I'm thinking Starlight Road, because I just want to make sure that I can push my, let's be real, 5 Floodgates. We swap cards, and that's generally how I would look against Dream Frogs. And then usually against Frog Monarch, it would be the same thing. The only my difference is I was citing an MST over what? Maybe Return, but I like keeping one of them. Against regular Frog Monarch, we could probably side out an Oppression. This is how the deck would look against regular Frog Monarch instead of Dream Frog Monarch, because usually they're not special summoning as much, or at least not comboing as hard. Because generally they're not usually like multiple dupe blocking you. They're only dupe blocking you once, maybe twice, and generally if they're able to set up the dupe block turn 1, the Oppression is not as good against regular Frog Monarch as it is against Dream Frogs. Then for our next deck, we're going to go against one of the most popular decks and one of the most winning decks, which is Vayu Turbo. We're going to side out these three. And to put in, I like MST, another Spear Dragon. Yes, a third Spear Dragon just to attack over values and everything. Third release, double Compulse. Then do we side Oppression? No, we. But I'll side in a 7. Take out that. Side out Trap Dust Shoe. I side out this card in almost every matchup besides like cards, decks like Frogs, Fairies, Light Sworn. Decks that just keep a lot of cards in hand. So I'll side out those 4 against value. Brain Control, I don't think is the greatest. Not a huge fan of Book of Moon because you don't have to really deal with the dupe block. This card is mainly for dupe block and kind of defense, but not as much. Do I want to do anything else? Nah. That'll be it for the Value Turbo matchups. This is how the deck would look. I don't hate bringing the second 7 tools. And if we bring in the second 7 tools, what would be side in or side out? This card's very good, so definitely do not side this out in the Value matchup. Maybe a Judgment going second. Just because the life points differential is very strong. And generally in that matchup, you're not going to be judgmenting anything that's not a trap card besides Dad. And if they have Dad kind of moment. So that's how it would be against value. I don't hate this. If you want to keep in judgment over the second 7 tools, I don't hate that either. Especially if you're going first, just to protect yourself from heavy even more. Because that card is very much a blow up. We'll reset that. And for our next matchup, we're going against Black Wings. Black Wings, Black Wings, Black Wings. That's when this comes in. I like the double Cyber Dragon. The MST is really good. Double Compulse. Double 7 tools. Coming out, we take that up. Triple Legacy. What else? Brain Control is not great. Book of Moon is not great. Love Giant Trunade in that matchup. If I'm going second, I'm taking out a Gold Sark. Generally, actually, rules like if I'm going second against any fast deck, we side out Gold Sark. Call the Haunted is not great. The reason why we take out Call the Haunted in that matchup is because they'll have their double Oppression in against you, and this card just hard loses to Oppression. And then also against that matchup, unlike Value and unlike other decks, bringing back a Drago sometimes stops their plays if they're trying to go Blizzard the far north, not Blizzard Dragon, Blizzard the far north. To bring back one, Call the Hunt is really good, but like it doesn't just solo the matchup because they have Whirlwind plus any monster, which searches Kalut, or even Sirocco by itself beats over it. So like this is how I would probably side for Black Wings. So we want definitely the Luster Dragon in this matchup because this is one of the matchups where the attack points very much matter. And this beating over a Sure and a Bora is really, really good. And also it doesn't go to defense unlike Spear Dragon. Honestly, I'll probably take out a Spear Dragon in this matchup. What would we want to put back in? Probably Book of Moon, just so we can get another summon stop. This is actually how the deck would look. With Titan Luster Dragon for a Spear Dragon, just because this goes to defense all the time, and that gives free Bora food. And you never want to give a free Sirocco Bora food, because if they just like Whirlwind, Sirocco, Search Bora, Special Bora, Pierce, boost the Bora and attack over Spear Dragon, that's 3,700 damage. And like that's a lot of damage for free. And you just do not want to surrender that to Blackwing. We'll reset that. Now we're on to Machina Lightsworn. It's more the Machina control deck that's only playing like double right or triple Raikou, double Lila, Hamster Caius, you know, the good control stuff. What comes in is Daphne, Cyber Dragon, probably MST, double Compulse, double Oppression. I don't hate 7 tools. I sometimes side it in. If they're playing way more back row than usual, then go ahead and side in a 7 tools. But most ones that I'm seeing aren't siding a ridiculous amount. Side out that. Not a fan of Starlight Road in that matchup. Triple Legacy, like always. Brain Control is really good to get the Machina Fortress, but like this card is just not good because there's nothing really you want to book on their board except Caius. Not on the summon, just to beat over it though. This card is really good because generally the deck is kind of slower. I'm not saying the deck is slow by any means, but it's just slower. And then we'll side out a Call the Haunted. This would be how we would side for Machina Lightsworn control. You just want to have like good power hitters, and like these two are actually like really good. Purely because it allows you for a late game, because they will be Caiusing your board and Raikou popping all your monsters. So you just need to make sure you have a late game against that deck. Then for our next matchup, we'll have Pure Lightsworn. that deck is very sacky, and if they mill wolves while you don't have this boy up, it's just really good for them. Side in these two, side in the third Spear Dragon. This card for just Royal Decree. If you don't think they're on Decree, definitely do not side this card. But most pure Lightsworn players are going to side Decree in against you because, like, as you see, we're playing 14 trap cards, and our side deck is like 2, 4, 6, 9 trap cards. So, like, it's a good estimate that they're going to have Royal Decree. Double Compulse, just to get them off a monster, and then double Oppression. What comes out is this card needs to stay in because of JD. This card actually stays in because they're going to keep a lot of cards in hand. I actually take this out over the Burial purely because, actually, you know what? We'll side out both. Purely because they're not going to Caius you. They're not really playing Bottomless. They're not playing Deep Prison, really. And, like, Royal Decree's coming in. So you also got to side out these three. I take out Heavy and Trunade because while, yes, they do have Decree, they don't generally have anything else. And you never want to really heavy your own board just so that way you can get rid of a Decree. So the MST is just fine. What else do we... If we're going second, we definitely take out the Gold Sark. But if we're going first, I would not do that and actually think of taking out Brain Control. The reason for that is generally, I think a good Lightsworn player is going to sit on Arcus plus Honest and just never attack with it because they don't want to get in Mirror Force and all that. Or even if they switch it to defense, they just play Protect the Arcus kind of gameplay. That card is really, really good against you. And generally, rule of thumb is they're not going to summon a JD until they're trying to kill you, unless they're very desperate. And if that happens, it just happens. But this is how I decided for Lightsworn. Actually, no. We'll put in another Luster Dragon, kind of. Is there room for it? Actually, Goldstark for it. Yeah, this is how I want the actual Lightsworn matchup. Because while Goldstark is very strong in the matchup, because it can search you like anything in your deck, really, just having the 1900 beater, which is another pressure point, and guarantee normal summon, because like that deck punishes you by you being passive for a turn, so you just want to keep the pressure on against that deck because it's very scary. And if they go like charge Light Brigade, mill a wolf, recharge, mill another, like if they ever hit double wolf, that game is just very much should be over. And then against Christia Sworn, the major difference with Christia Sworn is we still side in this. I'm not a fan of this in Christia Sworn list because generally rule of thumb, the attack points are not as relevant. This for Decree, this, don't hate this, and then double Oppression. Gone, 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 definitely gone. What else do we want to side out? These two, of course. This card is very good in that matchup. I'm thinking either Bottomless, which is actually very good in the matchup, just to remove the Christia from the board. Probably Book 'em. Just so you know, in that matchup, they are also, for those two matchups, they are going to be sided Consecrated Light. So if you keep in Book of Moon just as a target to stop the Consecrated Light, I don't actually hate that. So just know that that's also why these are coming in. These are coming in. The reason why I said Consecrated Light is because a lot of the players think that this is how you win the matchup is just this card. But as you see, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 monsters that can deal with Consecrated Light that are not Red MD. And if they have Honest, they have Honest. You just kind of have to accept that sometimes. But like, generally rule of thumb, when I play against a Christia Sworn player or a Lightsworn player, they side in Consecrated Light against me. So just know that generally that's how a lot of people have been siding, because like I've seen very good players do it, I've seen not so great players do it, and they generally side in Consecrated Light against me every time. And then we'll go against Quick Draw, my arch nemesis. This card's coming in. This card's good, 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 good. And then definitely these. I actually do not have a 7 tools in this matchup. Purely because a lot of quick draw lists are playing way more back row, so you just gotta keep your plays through. Not a fan of this. Yes, I do know that they play black rows. So I would either side out the Judgment or the Starlight Road. It's kind of dealer's choice. I would side out Starlight Road instead of Judgment just because this hits anything, while this only hits black rows and heavy. Yes, they do play sweepers, but sometimes you gotta just play into sweepers sometimes. These three. Side out a Drago. The reason why I'm siding out a Drago in this matchup, unlike the others, is the only light and dark that this deck is ever going to be summoning is Gores. So I'm not a huge fan of playing Drago keeping Drago in against decks where I'm only expecting Gores, because sometimes it can stop you from summoning your own red MDs. We're going to keep in Burial and Side Out Return. The reason being is this can put back their Drill Warriors back to the graveyard. This is not great because it's never going to hit a Drill Warrior or a Titania, which is the actual cards you care about. Call the Hunt is not great. Was there any other changes that would... No, this seems fine. This is how you would side for Quick Draw. Going first or second. This card is really good because even if they have 2 cards in hand and they have a Drill Warrior banished, they draw for turn going up to 3, then Drill Warrior adding back a monster, which is 4, and then you can usually trap Dust Shoot whatever they add back, because it's usually going to be either a Dandy or a Debris, because that's going to be their follow-up play, because either it's going to be Drill Warrior, discard Dandy, get 2 more tokens, or they're going to Debris Dragon, bring back Dandy, and Black Rose your board after they Drill Warrior again. This is how I side for Quick Draw. The matchup is not great. Any deck that's really not a light or dark deck is not the greatest matchup, but it is what it is. You got to deal with everything. And then against our next matchup is Amaryllis Burn. So this card is actually MVP because they summon their Amaryllis. They have to be in defense, and that's while you are taking 800 damage, which is not great. You're dealing 1900. So like your clock is like a 5-turn clock, while theirs is a 10-turn clock, and that's not dealing with any other damage that might be happening. I don't hate this to hear Miracle Fertilizer. This card is very sus because they're Titanium Turbo. And then I like Double Oppression. So that is 5 cards. 1, 2, 3. I actually do not hate this just to bring back more Spear Dragons. I'm definitely taking out a Quackmire Drago in that matchup. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for our last card, what do we want? We will keep this in, even though they're never Kaising us and usually not balancing or depressing us. Because it can, if they go DDR, target a Titanial that's banished, it's not great putting it back in the graveyard, but dealing with a Titanial is very, very difficult. And you just do not want that to happen if you can. So that's why I'm actually keeping this card in. What would I side out against that? If you see a Debris Dragon, keep this in. But if there's no Debris Dragon, slide this out. Just because like it's only against Heavy and the 2 Sweepers, which is definitely 3 cards. You're only 1, but it's just not the greatest, especially if you're going second. Because they're usually going to have back row almost all the time. I would do the Brain Control. This is honestly probably how you should side, because the Brain Control is not great because they're always going to have Titanium plus tokens, or Titanium plus Amaryllis, or Titanium plus something else, because Titanium's kind of how their gameplay is and how they should be playing this matchup, because generally Amaryllis is not great because you can beat over it with almost everything, and with 3 Spear Dragons, you're actually winning that exchange. And then for Zombies, that's actually, I think that is our best matchup, just because this card is very good, especially if they're playing the Instant Fusion version, and or Welladad, because it stops Welly. So in that matchup, I would side in this. I keep citing Soul Release into matchups where normally DD Crow is better, but I think we only have room for 1 Graveyard Hate card, and I think Soul Release is better than 1 DD Crow. These 2. And these 2. If you're playing the Ultimate Offering, I don't hate the 7 tools because it can stop Ultimate Offering, but only generally if you're going first. So if we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, what do we side out? Brain Control is not the greatest. Glowsark is way too slow against zombies, usually. This card is actually very insane. I actually do not like Bottomless, and I like Deep Prison more, because generally they're going to make a Stardust before making any of their real plays. And then Triple Legacy. And then either Burial or Return. I would side out the Return over... Actually, Wrap Dust Shoot. That's... The reason why I was thinking on Return instead of Burial is because Burial can stop their returns, because they are definitely going to be playing Return. And if you can put all 3 back in, really 3 of their big guys back in Grave or something like that, it really stops their real play, and they paid half their life points for it. Generally, I do like the zombie matchup. I think I've lost to it once, but it is what it is. But like generally, you just protect the castle. Like protect this boy. Like if you have this plus this, and just protect the Drago, you should not lose against zombies, because this card just really works very well against them. Rule of thumb that you guys should know, that the average list, their only Pyramid Turtle target is itself plus Mizuki. Mizuki is an Earth, so if all Pyramid Turtles are engraved, they can still activate effect. and summon their Mizuki. I think there's the 2400 guy. I believe that's an Earth, but if I am wrong, please let me know in the comments below. The zombie matchup is very much one that I love. Next is Chaos Fairy, because I believe that is the most popular fairy version. Don't get me wrong, I know that there is just the Theseus version that just topped the Ultimate Time Wizard in Niagara. I do not think that deck will have as much staying power until it is very much utilized to a better, because don't get me wrong, I think the player who topped with it is an insane player, and I can almost guarantee that he is better than me. I just do not think the deck will stay as long as some other decks have. So into that matchup, into Chaos Fairy, I definitely want this card just to do Piercing Over, this for Royal Decree, and then probably one Oppression. If I want anything else, maybe double. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom, boom, boom. Pretty simple side deck plan. I don't hate the second Oppression, but generally all you're hitting is a couple monsters while they have Decree. So if you want to actually do that, do this for this card. I don't hate this siding pattern, or you could do the other one. It's really up to you. Obviously, none of these siding patterns are up to stone. Don't be like, because of this, I'm going to side exactly like this every single time. You kind of have to read the player, and sometimes it's a little different. Sometimes you have to think this over this, or like, how lucky are they? If they're a very well-known lucky player, you're going to expect them to have Heavy Storm more. If they're a very unlucky player, you might not expect it. Obviously, it doesn't actually change the math, but sometimes if it's someone's day, you should just expect them to have the better cards. Like when I won my 2 events, people should have just expected that I had the cards because like in that day, it was just my day. So like I was drawing what I needed when I needed it, and like it just happens. And sometimes it's just not your day. Sometimes you're the protagonist. Sometimes you're just a background character that the protagonist has to beat. It's just how it is. Next is against GBs. Generally, rule of thumb, I'm going to be thinking of the Guardian Yados version. And against that matchup, we're going to side this. Don't side in this because it goes to defense. This, boom, 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 boom. Definitely gone because they're never going to have more than 2 cards in hand from the rest of the game. These 2 are not great because you have to keep in real cards nonstop. This is not great. This is mid. I don't know. Spear Dragon. I might side out as Dragon. I'm siding in another Luster Dragon for it. Let's keep it in for now. This is not great. But all the Haunted's not great. Okay, that would be the last card. Is there anything else I would want to take? Generally, rule of thumb is I want to keep this because while the matchup is very fast, being able to resolve a Future Fusion and summon double red enemy against that deck is very, very strong. So yeah, I would think the Spirit Dragon. So this is how I would generally side for the GB Guardian Neato deck list. And this card is absolutely insane. You just want to make sure all your back row is chainable or can stop one of their tags or one of their pushes. Obviously, if they have traps done, they have traps done, but that's why you also want the double 7 tools to 7 tools their traps done. Your other back row can actually interact with them. And then Drago is not great in that matchup because while it does stop Gazaris, like you gotta have make sure that you can push through that deck because they're gonna like try to out tempo you and summon big guys. And like Guardian Yados is a wind, which is a 2500 beater. That's a wind monster, which this card does not stop. Then for our next deck is the Diva Hero combo list. In that matchup, I would side in this, maybe Spirit Dragon. We'll get to that. MST, Slow Release, Double Compulse, Double Oppression. Coming out is this. Because generally you're not dealing with Ab Zero, and this card cannot activate in the damage step. Against that deck, they're going to be Kaising you, so I'm going to put that out. Triple Legacy. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5. One more. And that card. So this is all aside for the Diva Hero, the combo variant. Nothing too special. If you wanted a third Spirit Dragon, what would you take out? Honestly, brain or book. Like, kind of pick whichever one you think you need more. I kind of like Book of Moon for going first and Brain Control for going second. So, like, this for going first, this for going, or yeah, you would have Book of Moon for you go first to stop their diva play, and then Brain Control to actually take the monster when you're going second. Like this is going second. No, this is for going first. My apologies. And then this, oh, this is for going second. And then against the, and finally, but not least, was the Diva Hero beat list, which I think is probably our worst, if not one of our worst matchups, purely because they have 1900 beaters that are bigger. We put in all 4 of these guys. This guy, double compulse. As you see, we're citing this in like every matchup. I've thought about just taking out the legacies and adding different cards, and probably 1 or 2 of them would be compulse. This and an oppression, maybe 2 if you're going first, just to deal with the miracle fusions coming out. This card definitely not a fan of this card. 1, 3. I don't hate siding out one of these. Call the Hunt is not terrible. Brain Control, I just realized against a lot of Ab-Zero decks is generally rule of thumb. This card isn't going to do enough because even if you Brain Control an Ab-Zero, unless you're pushing for game, this card is just not great into any Ab-Zero deck. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 more cards. What do we side out? Against Diva Hero Beat. I love this card. Going second, I'd probably side out both just because it's not fast enough. But if you're going first, I would keep it in. Probably out. I like this just to keep a monster on board. Book of Moon is not the greatest. I don't hate this. And then if you're going second, just because the upstart gives you the extra card faster. So that matchup's kind of weird. Is again, all these sighting patterns are not absolutely set in stone. It's just generally rule of thumb how I think about it. Like when I'm sitting down, sometimes I'll like definitely want the second oppression if my opponent's like always opening future fusion, going miracle fusion. They're just drawing like the combo variant of the Diva Hero beat list instead of like the slow alias Gemini Spark Hero. Like if that's their main game plan and they're just not drawing the other part, like this card is not as great if they're just actually alias beating you down. But if they're doing the Diva plays, the Miracle Fusion plays, the Future Fusion plays, this card's really, really good. So, like, it's kind of like hit or miss how you side deck against that card. Also, I don't hate if you're just like Oppression, Third Spirit Dragon, swap those just because, like, you are really fearing those cards. And, like, you don't need the Third Spirit Dragon because you're not really piercing, but it's just another big body that, like, can test the alias. Like, that's kind of how I'm thinking about that matchup. And thank you guys for watching. This is the side deck thing. Comment down below what you think about how I side deck in some matchups or what I should change about my deck. Comment anything you want to say down below, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much.